Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is MJ, and in today's video I want to put some things into perspective. If you're someone who came across Bitcoin lately, you probably have seen that on CryptoX a lot of Bitcoiners and influencers are super positive about Bitcoin, and some people are saying that Bitcoin is going to $500,000 to maybe even $1 million within this cycle, which means that within the next like 3 to 6 months, maybe 8 months. But if you look at things realistically here, then to be completely honest with you, we open the chart. This is the Bitcoin all-time chart. You open this chart, you look at it, and what do you see? Bitcoin is at all-time high, which means that obviously there's a lot of positivity around Bitcoin. Literally every single person who have ever bought Bitcoin are in profit. So obviously everyone are super positive, everyone are saying that Bitcoin is going higher, this time it's different, all these things. And don't get me wrong, I am super positive about Bitcoin. I'm a huge Bitcoin bull. I'm stacking sats every single day myself. But I just want to let you know that if you're new to Bitcoin, if you're somebody who found Bitcoin right now and are looking for some information, then I want to set some things straight here. You look at the chart, it's at all-time highs, which means that everybody sees that, Bitcoin have already done 7.5x this cycle from 2022 bear market lows up until right now. Let's open the calculator. Let's see one more time. Bitcoin bottomed out around 16,000, the bear market. Last bear market, 2022, around 16,000. That was the Bitcoin bottom when FTX collapsed, all that, and that marked the Bitcoin bottom. Since then, Bitcoin started to climb up again. Now, let's see, 16,000 times 7.5 equals 120,000. And Bitcoin new all-time high is 123,000 this cycle, right? So Bitcoin literally has 7.5x within the last 3 years. So if you were somebody, you catch the Bitcoin bottom back in 2022, you have multiplied your money 7.5 times, which is obviously super great. Like, it's bullish, and all these people that did that are very bullish right now, and their risk to reward ratio is completely different to somebody who are coming across Bitcoin right now and thinking that maybe I should, start buying Bitcoin, because there are a lot of people on X and media everywhere that are now comparing Bitcoin to real estate and other, investments and stuff, and they're saying that Bitcoin is much better, and people should really get into Bitcoin, which is completely correct. I agree with it. But we got to set things straight here. If you look at the chart, then this cycle, we got to remember that Bitcoin is cyclical, So let's look at the cycles. Somebody on X made a great post. And if you look at that, Bitcoin yearly returns from 2010 until this year. Here, I'd say Bitcoin was still, super small asset, and Bitcoin, we can't really look at that, so much. But regardless, Bitcoin went up 4 years straight from 2010 to 2013. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's actually, 2010, 2011, 2012. So 4 years it went up, and then we had down year. That was the bear market year, 2014, 58%. Bitcoin corrected down. And which pattern do we see since 2014, which is 11 years? We have 11 years of factual data that we can rely on. We can make assumptions if you look at that. And then from 2014, that was the bear market year. Then 2015, 2016, 2017, Bitcoin went up. In 2017, we had this, that was like the probably first time I came across Bitcoin back in 2017 and crypto market. And that was like, the euphoria were everywhere, pretty much like right now, And Bitcoin was 21,000. I think Bitcoin topped around 21,000, something like that. Like, the party was on, right? Then what happened? Bear market came. It was brutal. It was over 1 year, It lasted until 2019 February. In 2019 March, Bitcoin started to climb up again, right? So it was over 1 year. If you look at that, Bitcoin corrected 73%. That's a pretty big correction, If you're somebody that bought the 2017 top here, you lost 73% of your money within a year, and that's not easy. That's That's something that nobody wants to go through, right? But now let's move forward. 2019 was another up year, 2020 up year, and 2021 was the previous bull cycle top. When we look at the chart, Bitcoin topped out around 69,000, was the last bull market stop. And then what happened? Another brutal bear market that lasted for 1 year. That was a little bit shorter bear market than back in 2018. That was a 1 year bear market, and we bottomed in December 2022. In January 2023, we started the uptrend movement again. So what happened here if you bought the top? You lost 65% of your money if you bought 2021 top in the end of 2021, But right now, even if you bought the top, right now you're still in profit. You have doubled your money, If you bought the bottom, you have 7.5x your money, from bottom to top. If you bought the top here back in 2021, looking at that, you have doubled your money, which is still great. But what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to just tell you guys that right now, the risk to reward ratio is probably not the best, right? It was the best, right here. But what happens during these times? The thought is out of the world. Like everyone's so negative. We were not right about Bitcoin, all these things, But that's where you got to be contrarian. And that's what I'm trying to do here as well. I'm trying to be contrarian right now, because if you look at Crypto X, Bitcoiners, everyone's super bullish. Bitcoin is going to $500,000 this cycle, this year. Bitcoin is going to $1 million. If you look at the chart, everybody see the same chart. We, as retail investors, we can't pump Bitcoin to $500,000 to $1 million. Let me tell you that, we can't do that. We don't have enough money. The people who are pumping Bitcoin really are big institutions, countries, adoption like that, And these are not stupid people, If these people, countries, institutions, I don't know, maybe Apple, who knows, who's next during the next adoption phase, the next bull market. They look at this chart right now, they're like, we really like Bitcoin. Like fundamentally, Bitcoin is great, obviously. 24/7 open liquid market, easily transportable all around the world, decentralized, nobody controls it. All these things, it's great. It's scarce, only 21 million will ever exist, Right now on exchanges, there's a little bit over 2 million coins actually available, So, it's super scarce, and they get it, right? Like Wall Street entered the Bitcoin market this year, so they obviously get it. And now only more and more people have to make these decisions. More and more countries, institutions, everybody have to think about Bitcoin, because now America adopted Bitcoin, BlackRock, all these ETFs, big institutions. So now everybody got to pay attention. And I bet they will. They are paying attention. But if they look at the chart, they're like, hey, we gotta wait a little bit. We gotta wait until the risk to reward ratio resets, And I don't have crystal ball. Nobody really has crystal ball. So we don't know. We got to consider the fact that interest rates in America are still high, over 4%. And now the predictions are that interest rates are going to get lowered in September and in October, which, usually if interest rates get lower, then QE starts, money printing again, things like that, that usually leads to positive times in markets, So taking that into consideration, we can, probably, like I personally can see Bitcoin topping out anywhere between 140 to 180,000 levels. Like this is the range that I see Bitcoin is topping out this cycle. Maybe higher, maybe 200, 220 even, but in my opinion, in that case, things will be very, very overheated, and I will run into other direction as fast as I can. So potentially, if that happens, we could still potentially double our money from here on until the end of the cycle. But still, we got to remember that if we look at the chart, it's at all-time highs, It's literally everybody who ever bought Bitcoin are in profit right now. So what I'm trying to say here is I'm trying to make rational assumptions, Right now is probably not the time. If you're a real estate investor, you should, I don't know, sell some of your real estate and FOMO into Bitcoin, the risk to reward ratio is not that good anymore, So if we can make any assumptions based on the historical data, what we can see here is that 2017 Bitcoin topped out at around 21,000. We entered 1 year long bear market, then we had another 3 years of uptrend bull market. We topped out in 2021 November, another 1 year of bear market. And what can we see here? What can we see here? What does it align with? This is factual historical data that we are trying to make any assumptions here. So if you look at that, Bitcoin bottomed out around 16,000, like I said, right? What does it align with? It aligns with the previous bull market top that was 2017. Back in 2017, Bitcoin topped out at around 21,000, right? Something around, it was 21,000. I remember that, So around these levels, Bitcoin topped out. And now the next bear market, I mean, sorry, not the next, but the one after that, after the 21 cycle, Bitcoin bottomed out at the previous bull market levels. So if we consider this data, we can, assume that if Bitcoin tops out now, I don't know, maybe in the next 6 months, considering this data right here, like I said, that Bitcoin has 3 up years and then 1 down year, even if this cycle will be a little bit extended, maybe, we don't know, but maybe it will be because interest rates will get lowered probably in September and October in America, which will, like I said, usually, end up being positive for the markets. If you consider that, then, we can extend the cycle a little bit to maybe Q1 2026, but at the end of the day, I still believe that 2026 Bitcoin will have pretty heavy correction. And now if you make any assumptions based on this data, we can assume that Bitcoin might come down to the previous bull market levels, which was 2021. And I can also agree that yes, Bitcoin have grown up this cycle. Bitcoin have ETFs right now. Bitcoin have the American strategic reserve that it didn't have before. All these things are super great, and Bitcoin have grown up this cycle, which could lower the volatility a little bit, like it could do that. I mean, the correction might not be that deep anymore. But okay, let's say we have the positive scenario. Let's say we have the positive scenario. Then I see Bitcoin maybe. We have pretty solid support here at we accumulated here at 100 and here, so maybe. But I still like if you look at this accumulation phase here, this is super solid support here around 70 to 50, 70 to 50, like 50 to 70 for me still, if I just look at the chart, and I'm not big DA guy, let me tell you that, I'm not big DA guy, but if I just look at this chart, we have solid foundation here back from 2021, then we have from 2024, nice, what we had, that was from March up until September, so what is it, that's like March, April, June, July, August, September. That's like 6 months. 6 months of sideways action of support. So this is a strong support here. So for me, it's hard to see Bitcoin going much below that support the next bear market. But this is the levels I'd really watch. If we're talking about the next potential bear market, and if you make any assumptions, like I said, based on the historical data that we can see here, that previous bear market Bitcoin corrected down to the previous bull market levels, so that can happen. Yes, like I said, Bitcoin have grown up, and maybe we're only going to go down to like 80,000 and stuff like that. Because what else I believe is that obviously, like, the US have really adopted Bitcoin this cycle, and that has to put every other country, other big institutions into notice. Like they have, like, behind closed doors, they have to make decisions now. Okay, what's our Bitcoin strategy? What is it, this Bitcoin thing even? Like, we got to make decisions now, And obviously, like I said, these are smart people. They're looking at the chart. They see now, okay, it's at all-time highs. We probably should not FOMO into it right now, but we definitely want to get into it when the next bear market, obvious, right? So now when the interest rates gets lowered, we might still get that retail FOMO, and, Michael Saylor obviously are buying, and Jack Mallers and all these people, they're buying. So, probably we're going to going to bump a little bit higher this cycle. And what I also believe is that the next, like, this is just very cold assumption, like that, maybe it will not happen, but I believe that the next bear market bottom somewhere in 2026, maybe in the beginning of 2027, I believe that the bottom will happen when US actually announces that they are buying Bitcoin, because now they have strategic reserve. They said that they're not selling their Bitcoin that they have right now, but they still haven't announced that they're actually buying more Bitcoin. So when that's going to happen right now, they're trying to figure out the cost efficient way to buy more Bitcoin, right? So if they figure that out, then I believe the next bear market, because they're also not stupid, but the next bear market, they will announce that, hey, we started buying Bitcoin right now. And that's when everything starts to click again. Then I believe new countries will come out and, hey, we're gonna start stacking Bitcoin as well. New institutions come in. Hey, all this, like, we don't know. Maybe Apple behind closed doors right now are already talking about their Bitcoin strategy. Maybe they want to integrate Bitcoin to their iPhones and stuff like that. So we don't know that, but eventually it will happen. This is for sure. But we just gotta, like I said, set things straight and stay rational and not FOMO into it, because like, we gotta have a strategy. Because looking at the factual data that have like, we can rely on this data from the past 11 years, then I wouldn't really fight this data as well, right? Like, you gotta stay rational. So talking about me personally, what I do is that I set aside $15 every single day to stack Bitcoin. What I do is that I buy Bitcoin for $10, and I set $5 aside for the bear market fund, so I can be ready. Like I said, you guys need to prepare right now, mentally and financially, because when that correction is going to happen, it's going to be rough. We're going to have a lot of negativity. We're going to have a lot of FUD. We're going to have, other thing is, we're probably going to have all these treasury companies that are popping up now from left and right, and are FOMOing into Bitcoin, because they're FOMOing into Bitcoin at these prices right now, over $100,000. I mean, most of them are buying Bitcoin over $100,000. And if something happens, then they're going to come out. I mean, some of them companies are probably strong and they can handle the bear market, but I bet there are a lot of companies, a lot of treasury companies, that may be thinking now that Bitcoin have grown up this cycle, it's not so volatile anymore, yada yada, and then something happens and Bitcoin corrects maybe 50%, and they can't handle it. Then they come out like, oh my God, we were not right about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is still, this and that, and blah blah blah, and then the FUD will be out of the sky again, and that's the time to buy Bitcoin. That's the time when you need to be ready mentally and financially, to have your funds ready, because what's important here is that the next bear market, what I believe, will be absolutely the last chance for you and me, regular people, retail, to scoop up any significant amount of Bitcoin. Because like I said, if we can rely on the historical data, then we can see that Bitcoin probably will correct down to like 50 to 70,000 levels, maybe a little bit higher. And this is still, more or less the amount that, if you really put your mind to it right now, you could scoop up significant amount. Maybe it's 0.1 Bitcoin, maybe it's 0.5, maybe it's 1 Bitcoin, whatever it is, but this is still a significant amount. Because if we enter the next bull cycle, which is maybe somewhere in 2027, 2028, if you look at the historical data, Bitcoin, will probably go around, 250, 300, maybe $400,000, depending on how bullish things get again. And then the next bear market, we're going to correct, down again to this bull market, top levels, which are already over 100,000, and that's already too much for regular people like you and me. It's probably already when, like, that's when sats really start to matter. That's when really stacking sats will matter a lot, and they matter now as well a lot. I mean, but what I'm trying to say here is that the next bear market will most likely be the last chance the next bear market will be the last chance for regular people to scoop up any significant amount of Bitcoin and really set yourself up financially for the next 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 years. So that's why, guys, let's pay attention right now. Let's prepare and let's stay rational. Let's stay rational. Let's not get too over our heads and just FOMO into based on emotions. Let's stay rational. Let's look at the charts. Like I said, I'm not big TA guy myself, but just looking at it rationally, you got to understand that every single person right now are in profit, which means obviously a lot of positivity are around, and that will trigger even more FOMO. But that's also the time, when the higher Bitcoin goes, the more profit taking will also start to take place, so we gotta really stay rational here, So hey guys, thank you for watching this video. I hope it helped you in any way, and if it did, please subscribe to my channel. Please like the video. It will help me out a ton because I'm just getting started on YouTube. And also follow me on X, because on X this is my X account, and I am creating a daily Bitcoin content on X, as you can see here. This is my day 112, for example, stacking sats, and I'm always trying to put things into perspective, talk about scarcity, talk about different things about Bitcoin, and also I talk about some of my altcoin picks as well on my X account. So hey guys, peace out. Thank you for watching this video, and hopefully you have a great day ahead. Ciao guys.